Welcome to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison.
I'm Molly, a former skeptic turned full-time energy healer and teacher.
And I'm Madison, a born and raised witch running my family's crystal shop.
And we're here to explore all things woo through the lens of both science and spirituality so that you can find the moments of magic in your everyday life and create an intentional spiritual practice.
So if that's what you're into, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's demystify some magic.
Howdy doody, welcome back to the pod.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy fall times.
Happy Equinox. Equinox peaks on the Saturday, the 23rd of September. If you're listening to this live, you have a few days.
Yep, we are coming right upon it, which means we are settling into my favorite time of year. When does Maine get like peak foliage?
Like right around now. Sometimes like it sort of depends on the weather, but it's kind of like mid to late September to like early to mid October. Yeah, there's actually a foliage map that most people look for. And it depends on where you are in the state too. So like if you're south of the state, your foliage peaks at a different time than if you're north or down east.
Well, I saw one that had it changed like to show how the country will move through for peak foliage. And it included Florida on that map, and I immediately was distrustful of it. It like said that we would reach peak foliage in November. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a tree change its leaves here.
I'm looking forward to those orange and red palm trees.
Yeah. I wish what I wouldn't give. That's like one of the very few things that I don't enjoy about Florida's climate. I do, as much as I complain about it, really enjoy that it gets cold for like maybe 2 weeks, because that's about how long I will enjoy it when it's here. You know, I got a lot of like lead up to this like really exciting 2 weeks time. And then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, I'm done with it. And then it's warm again. But if I could just have leaves changing, I think like Florida climate would really be it for me.
Come on up. Speaking of leaves changing, we are doing a part 2 to our autumn equinox episode. So if you didn't listen to last week's, that's cool. You can listen to it after. There's no order of operations here. Last week, we talked a little bit about kind of the energy of fall, different ritual ideas you can do in the equinox. Today, we're doing an experiential episode. Woo! Our first one. So Madison is going to do a tarot reading for the collective on what message you might need to hear going into this new season, into this equinox. And then I will be guiding a meditation to help you really let that information settle, let that land, bring some balance to your mind and body as we move into the new season of fall.
We haven't discussed what we're going to be talking about prior to recording, so I'm going to be doing this meditation right alongside you, and I can't wait. I like woke up this morning feeling kind of groggy and just like a little bit off my game, and I was like, oh, I just get to meditate with Molly later. Like everything's going to be fine. I get to like reset.
Yeah. And just a reminder before we get into our magic moments, we do have 2 special fall equinox things that you can add to your rituals. So Madison has her autumn equinox smell.
It is also a smell candle.
What just happened? Madison has her autumn equinox spell candle, which I'm very excited. Mine is being delivered today, so I'm very, very excited to smell it and use it in my ritual. And then if you want to join the autumn equinox ceremony that I'll be doing, the links to both of those are in the show notes. We're going to do some guided meditation, some journaling, and some Reiki on Zoom together. Come on down.
Yes, and if you would like 20% off of your first online order from the Healing Hedge Witch, use code MAGIC at checkout, and you can get a little bit of monies off of your autumn equinox spell candle.
Hey, love it. All right, before we dive in, Madison, what was your magic moment of the week?
Okay, so at the time of recording this, you might have seen on the news Hurricane Idalia came through and was actually when we recorded our last podcast, the trajectory was basically that it was like headed straight for the Bay Area, which is where I live.
I wish y'all could hear the rough cut of that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Our poor editor, Lily, bless her soul. She somehow made us sound good, but the entire time.
I know. I'm just like
every time
out.
we messed up, Madison would be like, I have hurricane brain. And I'm like, I get it.
I would literally just say, there's a category 3 hurricane headed straight for my door. And I'm laughing purely out of like residual shock and anxiety. It was very scary. It ended up taking a left-hand turn to the Big Bend area, which is where I lived for 4 years. I went to Florida State University in Tallahassee, and I know what it's like, how weather impacts there. So anyone who was affected, just know that my thoughts and all my good energy is with you, because it was not a fun time. But my magic moment is that I live in an area that has a lot of flooding. Even when like there's a tropical storm, it's like almost impossible for me to get to my mom's house because she lives right near a river that like goes over all the time. And we recently bought the building that our store is in, and it's this old 100-year-old building. It has the original floors, the original ceiling, like in beautiful condition, but she's old. She's an old girl. And there was no flooding. And it felt like, from my perspective of, because I live very close to the store, it really seemed like from where I was standing, the only streets that were not flooded in the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, were the street that I live on and the street that the store is on, which I know probably wasn't true, but like all I was seeing of like photos was just like blocks from where I am and where the store is, just like completely streets flooded everywhere, like 3 inches to a foot of water in different places. There was just a moment of like, oh goodness. And it was on that full moon.
Yeah.
Where the tides get so much higher.
That super moon.
And so overnight, like we woke up in the morning and there was all this flooding all over. And we spent the whole day just thinking like, okay, when the second high tide comes of the day, like that was the one that everyone was saying was going to be the worst. And the storm surge pulled out just before high tide came in. So it really just like receded all out and everything, you know, it's been mostly pretty recoverable where I am, which was, I was expecting it to be much worse. There was a little bit of flooding at my mom's house, but like nothing that we didn't expect. And honestly, like we've been waiting on for like the past few hurricanes. The Tampa Bay area is really interesting. It's kind of, everybody has this very blasé attitude about hurricanes because they're always coming straight for us. And then they always turn at the last minute. And I've read somewhere that there's like a geographical reason, like the way that the land is where we are, but I have no idea if there's like any truth to that. And so whenever we experience any effects of hurricanes, I'm always like, what's going on? Like, because it's always, when I was growing up, it was like we would get a couple of days off school and then nothing would happen. And so it was a very interesting, it was an odd and very scary experience to be like, oh, there's just water everywhere.
Yeah. I know. I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you. Me too. I got a message from someone being like, you can tell where the witches are when they asked if I was okay. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm fine. The store is fine. I like can't believe it. Like there's no flooding, no nothing. We're all good. And she was like, oh yep, that's where the witches are. And I was like, you know it. So that is my magic moment of the week that we narrowly made it through. What was yours, Molly?
Mine has nothing to do with natural disasters. Mine has to do with the fact that the last week I have gotten reminder after reminder after reminder after reminder of how fucking cool and potent Reiki is, both in my own practice and with my students. So I'm in the middle of teaching Reiki 1, the Science of Self-Healing, which if you're new here is my 5-week program that basically teaches you how to use Reiki to relieve pain, stress, anxiety for your own healing, etc. And last week was attunement week. So everyone signs up for their attunement sessions. And it's really like between last week and this week is the first time people are experiencing the effect of Reiki in their own body and doing it for themselves. So it's always like my favorite week. And we're like at the same time geeking out about the science, which I also love. And last week I also had dental surgery. I had to get a gum graft, which I highly recommend avoiding. I've had a lot of dental surgery in my life, and this is the worst recovery ever. I'm like still on an all liquid diet, and the roof of my mouth feels like the worst pizza burn of my entire life. It's horrible.
I can't believe we're podcasting right now. As you were like updating me about your recovery, I was like fully prepared because I go out of town tomorrow. I was fully prepared to pack my microphone and just like figure it out.
I'm like, at this point, I'm like so fed up with it that I'm just like, you know, it does hurt to talk, but it's not like excruciating, you know? Like I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, I'm used to being at a level 5 pain most day. Anyway, so I do all these attunement sessions, and in the attunement sessions, it's always like amazing to me to hear people's reaction to it. Like I had people who were saying like, this is the most solid, stable, and safe in my body I've ever felt. People feeling more present, more grounded. People who were experiencing like big shifts in the way that they're reacting to stress. Like people are feeling more neutral to things that normally stress them out over the last week. And so that's always like, I don't know. I just think it's like the coolest thing ever because I think Reiki's amazing. But then to hear like other people, it's always, I don't know. I never get over it. And so when I was in my dental surgery, one of the things that I do, because again, I've had a lot of dental surgeries in my life. I have one just about every year. I do Reiki on myself through the entire appointment. And so I ended up like coming into the surgery and feeling like a little bit anxious just because I'm an anxious person. But like at the end, I'm like blissed out. I'm like, I just did 2 hours of Reiki and doing it through the recovery. And then so yesterday, my mouth hurt so fucking bad. Like I miss chewing food. And yesterday was the training session where we go through like all the hand positions, do a full basically self-Reiki session. And so I guide the students through that. And then I'm also like doing it on myself because I'm like showing them what to do. And yesterday I remember, I think I messaged you, Madison, and I was like, today is the first day my mouth doesn't hurt. And then I immediately realized, oh, I just did like 30 minutes of Reiki.
That might have something to do with it.
I was like, oh, that's not a coincidence. Like immediately, like it's so funny because I teach this and obviously Reiki's a part of my everyday life, but like I forget how magical it is until I like really need it. And then I'm like, oh shit, yeah, this thing is cool. So that's my magic moment. Just like a reminder of like, you know, I was thinking back to when I used to have dental surgeries before I had Reiki and how I used to be like, have to go under anesthesia and like the recovery time was so much longer and it was so much more stressful. And now it's like, there was a part of me that kind of like looked forward to having those 2 hours to do Reiki.
Yeah.
You know, like in a weird way. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So that was it. I'm excited to get my stitches out tomorrow. That'll be next week's magic moment. Being able to eat solid food.
Yeah, seriously. What's going to be your first meal?
I really am craving salt and vinegar chips, but I actually don't think I'll be able to eat them for a couple more weeks. So
we have goals. Know. What I'm hearing is we have goals. We have something we're working towards.
We have goals. I feel like if I ate salt and vinegar chips right now, I would just literally cry.
Yeah. I got a play-by-play this morning of Molly's attempt to eat an English muffin, and it was not good.
No. I described it as I felt like a microscopic beaver because I just had to very, very slowly chew with my 2 front teeth, and it was excruciating.
This era of our friendship has been so interesting. This is like where we've really gotten vulnerable. You know, like there's just, I feel like all the filters and all of the like thinly veiled, and all of it's been taken off the table. It's just like, here is me and my mouth pain and my struggles. And
and the best part is like us bringing all of you along with us.
Uh-huh. I hope you're enjoying the ride.
Anyway, speaking of rides, why don't we get started? Take me through the ride of the tarot reading.
Yes. And before I get too deep into this, I do want to say I'm going to use the royal you. If you're listening to this and it doesn't really quite land with you, one, that's okay. I would maybe keep it with you for the next couple weeks, see if anything comes up that this could be useful. But also don't think that something's like wrong or you're missing something if this doesn't land. You know, especially as I get more specific, we've got, you know, however many people are listening right now, it's not going to be a perfect match for everyone. So don't think that something's gone wrong if you hear this. That doesn't mean you're like not a part of the collective community that I'm reading for.
Yeah, take what resonates, leave the rest.
Yes, this might be a lesson you've already learned. This might be a lesson that you don't need to learn right now. It's coming later. Yada, yada, yada. Take what resonates, leave the rest. I pulled 4 cards and I'll kind of take you through their, you know, what they are. I'll show you, Molly, the imagery. I'll post I took a picture of the cards already. I'll post those on Instagram. Those should be up if you're listening at Healing Hedge Witch. But I felt a pretty strong, like, energetic divide. It was like I was pulling two readings, if that makes sense. Like there was one, these first 2 cards felt like very tied to the inner world, like how you were perceiving a situation versus like how others are perceiving you. There's this collective sense of really having like pushed through something. and really having like worked very hard. The first card I pulled was the Three of Pentacles, which I'll show it to you, Molly. It's this person working in what looks like probably a cathedral. There's the pentacles make this like really beautiful stained glass window. And this card for me usually comes with like this sense of achievement. You know, it's like you're working hard on something and there's something tangible that comes along with it. But I just didn't have that feeling when I first pulled it. And very shortly after, I pulled the Nine of Swords, which is these, in this deck that I'm using, the Morgan Greer Tarot that I always use for our collective readings. It's these two bound hands and then 9 swords sitting right next to them. And that to me gives this energy of like, you know, you're bound with rope and you're surrounded by the thing that would free you.
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, okay, like this makes sense. There's a mental block here surrounding success. You're working really hard. You're like, you, by all intents and purposes, have like pushed through something really difficult and that you should be proud of, but you've tied yourself up and you're not allowing yourself to feel that sense of achievement. And then on the other side,
I don't know. I just have to stop you. I don't know if anyone else just felt like they got punched in the gut with truth, but that is why I just made so many noises. Because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah.
Same here.
That's what I needed to hear.
And so that's this first half, right? Like, and you can even see, if you look at the photo of the cards, there's like even like a color difference. So the Three of Pentacles and the Nine of Swords next to each other, there's like a lot of dark, a lot of red, a lot of like, you can almost feel this like energetic heaviness. And then my next two cards, the Nine of Wands and the Four of Wands, they're both brightly colored, very like, they both have these yellow backgrounds. It's like, you can almost feel the difference in energy of like this very triumphant energy. So the Nine of Wands, you'll see, is in the original like Rider-Waite imagery, it's a man on a horse riding through, and like all these wands are behind him, and it's like meant to represent like people holding these sticks, like he's like going through a parade, essentially. That's more so how you're being perceived on the outside. Like you're the only one who's not allowing yourself to feel this success.
Oh.
And so if you can separate this need to pull everything inwards, which if you listen to our last episode, that is going to be a practice this season. This is a season of hermitage. This is a season of pulling inward, of making your circle smaller. You'll see all of that love and all of that admiration that is both on like the more public scale, and then also with the Four of Wands, like on a more private scale, like the people who love you, like the people who see you and the people who love you are acknowledging this hard work. And you are keeping yourself from feeling the weight of that energy by closing yourself off to others.
You know what's so interesting?
Yeah, tell me.
Is so fall marks this transition from the energy, the more yang seasons to more yin seasons. So summer is like peak yang, which is like active, fiery, outward energy. And winter is peak yin, which is more passive, quiet, dark energy. Dark is in like the opposite of light, not as in bad. And yin energy is very much associated with receiving rather than putting out. And so like what I'm hearing from this reading is this like imbalance in what you're putting out versus what you're willing to receive or what you're allowing in. And that so lines up with this transition from full yang to reverting to yin. So like going from fully putting everything out there, fully doing all the things, to now allowing yourself to receive as you turn inward.
That is so interesting, because I was pulling these cards being like, this feels like kind of in opposition to what we were talking about with what's going to be starting as we get towards the autumn equinox. You know, it is a period of drawing inward. It is a period. And so like, where's the imbalance coming from? And that makes so much sense. That's so cool. While I was pulling these cards, I was thinking about, I found recently like a really old note that I had written in my phone. And I was like writing these reminders for myself when I was going through a hard time that I wanted to be able to like look back on, and, you know, kind of like some guidelines for just things I wanted to remember. And one of them was the love and support from the people in your life is an energetic salve. And I think that I don't know why it was so poignant for me when I kind of realized it. And it's been such like a heavy and important reminder for me that, you know, when, I don't know if a lot of people listening also feel this way, but I have this, my first instinct is to say I can handle it all on my own. And to, you know, when people say that they are proud of me or, you know, acknowledge achievement or really even like, you know, women experience this all the time when like somebody compliments you and you go, oh, I'm such a mess. Like to minimize love and support and admiration. That is an energetic salve. It can heal just as strongly as you can through the act of allowing yourself to receive it.
And that's a practice in and of itself, right? Because our society has us trained to give more than we receive, right? Like to produce more than we consume. That our sense of self-worth is tied to what we do rather than how we are, who we are. And I feel like so much of my spiritual path has been rewiring that and to allow myself to receive, allow myself to be in a space where I can accept not just the compliments of others, but of myself and actually like feel worthy of that. You know, because I was definitely someone who was like, whenever I had success, I would be like, oh, it's not me. You know, I'm so humble. Like it was, you know, everyone around me did it. But it's like, I think stepping into your power is stepping into that sense of worth and saying like, yeah, I received that. To quote Elise Myers, I received that.
It is so powerful to be able to receive.
Yeah.
There is so much, I think we associate power with production and creation, but there's so much power in being able to sit and receive and in being able to be seen in that power.
Yeah. And I think we can't give or create without receiving first. I think that's what burnout is, right? It's giving and doing without receiving. It's pouring from an empty cup.
Exactly. Oh,
versus
100%.
Pouring from an overflowing cup. Yeah.
And so then the last thing that I wrote, kind of boiling it all down, the one message that came through was get comfortable being seen before you go into this period of hibernation. This is what will keep you from experiencing some level of shell shock in the spring. So when we all come out, when we're all, you know, finished hibernating and everybody's jumping out, start this practice now. I guess what I'm saying is go into this season, go into the autumn equinox, thinking about how you want to set yourself up even for like the summer solstice. When things are completely in the opposite direction, you want to have a good foundation, and now's a really great time to build it because you can build it on a quieter level rather than like exposure therapying it.
Yeah, that's really like what the energy of the yin season is, that conservation of resources, the hibernation of winter, right, is so that you can emerge in spring. So the image that kept coming through as you were saying that was like a caterpillar going into a cocoon and then emerging as a butterfly in spring. And it's kind of like this, you know, we always talk about the caterpillar and the butterfly, but we don't talk much about what happens in that cocoon phase.
This is my eels.
I know that they liquefy. I tell everyone since you told me.
This is my science fact that keeps me up at night and I can't stop thinking about. So I'm so glad that you brought this up because yes, we don't talk about that period. And I think that period of time is so beautiful because of how gross it is.
It's so gross. And at the same time, like think about, so the caterpillar goes into this cocoon, like in order for them to spread their wings when they come out of it, they have to be at some level comfortable with being seen as their true self. And I think that's what this season is inviting us to do, is start doing that inward turn of you getting to know who that true self is so that you can feel really grounded and comfortable in it, so that when you do emerge as a butterfly in spring and summer, you are able to show up fully and spread your wings in the way that you were born to do.
So what you're saying is the autumn equinox is the time to embrace your liquidification?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's like the building of the cocoon. I think you fully liquefy in winter.
Okay. I can see that. I just really wanted to talk about, can we talk about it again at the winter solstice?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about your liquid caterpillar cocoon grossness.
Yeah, we're getting ready to liquefy. We're building a safe space for that.
Yeah. And then like that, I think ties into that willingness to receive and turn inward, because like liquid to me as an element, water is so associated to our emotions. And oftentimes we avoid being in that space of reception because it can be emotional. Right. And so leaning into that, leaning into the discomfort that comes with being in a state of reception, leaning into the discomfort of, peeling away the layers of your own ego, of sitting with your pride and not being ashamed of it, right? Because I think so much of this turn of the season is like acknowledging where we were, where we've been, what we've achieved, having gratitude for that, and not feeling that like shame that we achieved something. I feel like shame and pride are kind of like can go hand in hand. So it's like, can we separate that?
Yeah, 100%. So that's my autumn equinox tarot reading. That's what I've got for you. If you would like to let me know, slide into my DMs, tell me if that resonated for you and if you enjoyed this format of a little bit longer form of a tarot reading. Last solstice, or the summer solstice, we did a little bit of a shorter at the end of our ritual episode. It was just a little tidbit at the end. So if you liked a little bit of a longer one, let me know. And Molly, are you ready for a Yule meditation?
I'm ready. I think the themes that I'm hearing is like really getting comfortable in receiving. Is that kind of like the takeaway?
Definitely.
Coming into that state of reception. All right, let's do it. So go ahead and get comfy. Get yourself in a little comfy spot. And as we talked about in our meditation tips for ADHD episode, that comfy spot could be sitting down. It could be lying down. You could be walking. It does not matter what your physical body is doing. So allow yourself to be comfy, right? Set the tone for this state of receiving by allowing your physical body to receive comfort. So whatever support you want to bring in, whether it's pillows or blankets, decide if you want to close the eyes or let the gaze land to a spot on the floor or on the ceiling. Maybe just take a couple of deep breaths on your own, just allowing yourself to transition from the reading, from wherever you were, wherever you're going, just being right here, right now. And as you inhale, really let yourself fill up, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. So if you are not in a state of receiving, you might notice that your inhale is really short. It's really shallow. And so we can start this inward turn. We can start this turn towards getting comfortable, allowing the good stuff to come in by really filling up with the inhale. So taking a big, big breath in, feel the abdomen expand, and then open your mouth and let it go. And then just notice how that echoes through your body. Maybe you do it a few times. Sometimes when we go from shallow breath to deeper breath, the body has some like tension around it. It's not used to it. So can you breathe with that tension? Be with it. Build your proverbial cocoon around it with your supportive, loving gaze. And then can you let it go with your exhale? So just for the next couple of breaths, as you breathe in, really take up space. Let yourself receive that breath. And as you exhale, release the tension that's holding you back from taking the next breath in. And then let your awareness turn towards your heart space. If it's helpful, you could place your hands over your heart. And I'll invite you to bring into your awareness someone or something that you care deeply about. Someone that when you think of them, you don't have to think about how you feel about them. It's just like an instant love, appreciation, gratitude. Just bring them into your awareness. And I'll invite you to see if you can feel this appreciation, this love you have for this person or thing, or maybe it's an animal. Let it fill your whole body. So notice, does your face change? Does your body change? Observe your breath. And then inwardly, offer this person your loving kindness. So repeat after me in your mind, holding this person in your attention. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. And just notice how your physical body responds to this offering of love, this person, this thing you care about. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. Take a deep breath in. Open your mouth and let it go. Now keeping your awareness on your heart space. Imagine that person you care about or that thing you care about is here with you. Maybe you visualize them smiling. Maybe you just feel their energy. Maybe you just trust that your intention is enough. And see how your words of loving kindness have impacted them. See how they've received that love. And see them encouraging you to open yourself to receive that same loving kindness. And as you bring your awareness to yourself, can you call up that same feeling of love, appreciation, and gratitude that you feel towards another? Can you turn it towards yourself? And this time, repeating these phrases in the first person. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. And just notice how the body responds. If you feel tension, Can you observe that with a loving gaze? Maybe taking a breath into that space of the body. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. Can you feel yourself open and receptive to this care? And as you sit, notice the support underneath you, wherever you are, under your feet. Feeling that support of the earth, of gravity, all the energetic support that's around you. It's all right here. Just waiting for you to let it in. Take a deep breath in. Open your mouth and let it go. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes if they were closed. Come back to the world. Send me a DM. Let me know how you're feeling. How you feeling, Madison?
That was so lovely. I got emotional there for a second.
I know, me too.
I had such a little tender moment of, I like teared up a little bit and I was like, nope. I had a second where I was like, should I active meditate and play Candy Crush?
I think it's okay to tear up. I think like part of the meditation practice is in like, because so often we are told to shut down that side of ourselves, right? To close off from it, to bury it and deal with it later. And so I think part of this practice and part of this like turning inward is, can I sit with that? Can I observe that emotion as it comes up? Can I let it bubble up to the surface and not try to hide it or tamp it down or change it? And I think that itself is an act of loving kindness to ourselves. It's just letting ourselves feel what we need to feel.
What's that energy of receiving?
Yeah.
I feel all kinds of zened out. I love doing your meditations too because I always will combine them with Reiki. And so it's a nice time that because I'm so spoiled that I do mostly do recordings of your meditations that you've sent me over the course of our friendship because they're my favorite. And all just like very low maintenance. Like for me, it's the visual in my head of like literally turning on a little water spigot above my head and just letting it flow. And I shit you not, you heard me complaining about my shoulder before we started recording. My left shoulder blade was experiencing just like some weird, like I slept on it funny, like just like some weird annoying pain. And I sat with one hand on my shoulder and then one hand on my heart. And I feel great now. No pain.
Great. I love that. If anyone else listening wants to combine meditation with Reiki, come to the fall Equinox event. That's what we're doing. It's going to be really fun.
Yes, I will be there if I can. And I can't wait.
Amazing. Until next time, we'll see you next time.
Yes, happy fall equinox, everybody.
Okay,
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison. If you want to learn more about us, you can find all our links in the show notes.
We'd love to know what you think of today's episode, so drop us a review or give us a shout out on social media. And don't forget to let us know your magical moment of the week. Okay, love you. Bye.